So you recently visited House Zero in Austin during the South by Southwest Festival. So that's Icon's latest building project.
Yeah, they really did an incredible job with that one because they were able to design it on their own from scratch. So they own the project, and the other projects they had contracted and made deals with other people that were involved, stakeholders. And this one was just exactly the way they wanted. So they were able to experiment with some things, and they learned a lot of really important things, like they don't put any outlets or holes in the wall. So the windows are all floor to ceiling, and the printed elements are just printed and left, which is like fascinating because so many other companies are like, look what we can do with the cutting the wet concrete, making the holes during the print, whatever. And it seems Icon's realized it's better just not to do any of that, which is fascinating because it's like changing the way a home is built rather than making a house that just looks like a typical house exactly. And it's like when the first Tesla came out, they had a fake grill in the front of the car, even though there's no grill. But they've since removed the grills, and society likes it much better. But they needed that grill in the beginning because society was like, it looks so weird without a grill. We don't accept this. So 3D printed houses right now are forming in the shape of traditional houses because society needs to accept them. And it's the design, like you were talking about, that will unlock the future homes that will make this technology actually more cost effective rather than trying to fit another mold.
That's a very interesting perspective. So both of us actually, and my husband too, we stayed at the other Icon house in Austin in November. You invited us there. And that was one thing that we discussed during your podcast. We talked about how some of the outlets were loose and the plastic plate hitting curved concrete walls. It wasn't a good fit. Mm-hmm. So it seems like they tried that out because, like you said, people expected an outlet in that wall and realized it didn't really work. So they've moved on to another design.
I love when people do videos at similar companies to me, and especially your channel, because you always have details that are like, I always learn so much from watching the videos. And it's like other YouTubers too, like Monica Church at Mighty Buildings smelled the printed like plastic that they used, and it smelled like glue, which is like a fascinating detail about this UV cured polymer that I didn't even think, like smelling people just come up with so many, the more people covering something, the better. And it's like, I think it'll just be great as the industry grows to have more people on YouTube covering it.
So what else about about House Zero was so different or a step up from the house that we stayed in?
Wow, everything. The print quality is much better. If you recall, around the windowsills, there were some like issues. They upgraded the printer significantly. So their new printer has probably twice as wide, twice as long
beads of concrete?
No, arms for the system. So their system's not really a gantry system, it's on rails, so it's like a upside down U shape, and the legs have become enormous, so this gives them more rigidity. And I think they're planning on doing eventually like 2-story or 3-story prints, so they included the structural integrity required to reach those heights.
That's fascinating. What about the way the roof sits on it? Because at the other house, the second story was wood construction, and then a typical roof sat on that.
It was a timber frame roof, which is like just a really high-end, beautiful but expensive way to build. And the timber frames rest on poured columns within the printed wall. So like I'm sure you know, with other printed walls, they just like leave a gap inside and pour concrete in with rebar to create structural integrity.
That's where the roof sits on the concrete walls. And they have a series of these houses coming up, right? And they're all going to be rented out as Airbnbs.
I guess so. It seems like they're like kind of undecided on like exactly what they're going to do with the homes, but they're going to retain ownership of them and be able to use them for, like Airbnbs probably. I think it'll be a while before they list it because they have a lot of investors and like YouTubers and stuff that are visiting and potentially staying there. So I don't know that it'll be available to people soon, but the other printed homes are available on Airbnb. So people can go stay in the printed home right now if they want to.